the fat nose with the skinny legs who got picked on. Like one time they made me eat dirt at the bus stop. This was like when I was really, really little and I just didn't know how to take up for myself. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, you know what? But it also helped me gravitate to other people who were outcasts. Yo, welcome back to another edition of Cave or Conquer. I am Tommy.
I'm Robbie. Every time.
We can never get this right. Anyway, y'all, that's Coach Jenkins, Robbie Jenkins, Latosaurus Flex. You know what I'm saying? Doing her thing out here,
Hashtag
counting down the
awkward as
days.
hell.
It's all good. It's all good. So we're gonna start this episode off with our gym peeve of the week. What do you got for us, Coach?
All right, so my gym peeve of the week is when people do not re-rack their weights.
I feel like this is the oldest one in the book, though. Like, I feel like people have not been doing this for like eternity. And mass marketed gyms makes it even worse because you can never find what you want. So, what was the latest experience that you had with the people not re-racking? What was you looking? What machine was you trying to get it in on?
I mean, honestly, it always changes. Everything moves. Like, they do a really good job at my gym about getting everything back to like the weight tree and getting things evenly distributed. But I just, I hate it when you go over to like a Smith machine or something, and it's not even so much for me because I can put up a decent amount of weight now. But you see, like, some poor person that wants to use a Smith machine, and there's like a shit ton of 45s on either side. It's like, come on, don't be an asshole.
Well, but and then the other thing is like it's also an ego thing because I don't know. Like when I first started off like weightlifting, like it was probably like middle school. Like so, I go in there. I'm like, oh yeah, they said we can use the weights now, so we go in there. I'm saying, got this little machine, and I'm like, yeah, get swole, tweaking my back. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm good, coach. I'm good. I'm at basketball practice. He's like, why are you walking like that?
Ugh.
He like Tommy post up because I was a post player back then. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Like post up. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess that's me. I guess I haven't even defeated that person either on the inside that just wants to go hard. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just that dog in you, and then you end up paying for it. And now that I'm getting older, you know what I'm saying, approaching 30, like it's even worse. Like it take like if I remember I told you a few episodes ago where I was deadlifting trying to go hard after work. I tweaked my back. Yeah, I still feel that a little bit. I'm gonna feel that on the ACFT. So I'm gonna have to go tomorrow. I got the ACFT, so I'm gonna have to do that kind of medium. So I don't know.
You, you,
Um,
got- you gotta remember, man, it's not about the weight. It's not about the weight. I have
okay.
to tell myself this sometimes, but it's not about the weight. It's the efficiency of the workout. And
Mhm.
you don't have to leave the gym feeling like a pile of shit to have a good workout. People feel like if the more wrecked you feel, like the better your workout was.
Mhm.
No, probably not. It probably just means you didn't train the smartest. So,
Well, and that's real, and that means you got to have a plan. And so that leads us to the topic of this episode: why your why is everything.
ooh, this one's good for me this week.
Okay, okay. Well, because you wait, how many more days do you have until competition?
Whew, I have 6 weeks. My coach upped my cardio, so I do cardio twice a day, 5 days a week,
Hmm.
and he upped it to 60 minutes in the morning, fasted. Yeah, yeah, and then 45 minutes after weightlifting.
Wow,
So
that
that's
sounds
not even,
insane.
yeah, that's not even including one. It's not including like the lifting part, the part that I really really like, and then
Hmm.
it's like low intensity steady state. So literally, it's just getting on an elliptical. I've named her Ellie because we spend so much time together now. Yeah, and you get on the elliptical, and it's like you get your heart rate up to like 120, 130, and you just freaking you ride it. but just staying there for that long is ugh.
Oh, that
So
sounds grueling. Is it more grueling for your muscles or your mental?
no, it's just mentally. I think for me, it's because I get bored. Doing
Mm,
like the same repetitive motion. It's not so much physically challenging. There's some days where it is because I'm just getting depleted and tired, and the leaner I get, the less stores, energy stores my body has to pull from. So yeah, I just really it's just a mental thing. Like there's times where I'm like, well, maybe I'll just step off the machine and then like try something else for the last 10 minutes, and I have to tell myself like, no, like as soon as you step off this machine, it's game over. So it's just stay on here, write it out. I started grabbing books and reading while I'm on the elliptical. So
that's, I mean, and audiobooks have been my biggest savior, like YouTube and stuff like that, just different podcasts and stuff. Like when I'm doing that, because even like at work, because I work a labor intensive job with like delivering boxes and stuff back and forth. After a while, it just gets boring. Like you just like
yeah,
it's the same thing. So like, and I find that I have to put a little bit of extra. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, I got this podcast at this time, so I need to keep going to move to that step. You know what I mean? Because
yep,
everything that you do on a regular basis is feeding who you will become,
yep,
and it's miraculous watching your journey of who you've become. You know what I'm saying? From a physical standpoint, you know what I'm saying? When like even just like last week. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang, okay. I see what the abs going on with the, you know what I'm saying? And it's weird because you don't know it's happening. But that once you get that on auto tune, it changes everything. And so it was one of those things where now I'm down to like 185 pounds.
hmm
And I don't know how I got there. I just kept working and kept doing my thing. And then the heat, what I'm saying, all that stuff. But I think it's telling of the process. And so what is when you're in the gym and you don't want to be there, you know, what is your number one why motivator slash focus?
So mine is, and I actually, so kind of like back up this week, go like a little bit deeper. I had to remember my why this past week because I invited my family to come watch me compete in September. So parents, sisters, whatnot. Um, because to me it's a big deal. Like I potentially could step off stage a pro athlete, and then like the next goal being the Olympia, which is, I mean, the the thing, like that is
Mm-hmm.
like the show that bodybuilders want to get to. So for me, it's a huge deal, and I threw that out there, and I mean, it was just like an instant, like, no, we're not interested. Like, no big deal. Like, what? And yeah, I was insanely upset for about a day. Um, just frustrated because I'm like, like I put all this work into it. This means a lot to me. Like this is something that's like big in my life, and like it goes way back. But there's still times where it's like I want my family to be a part of it, um, but it's like they don't get it. They don't understand, and they don't understand how big of a deal it is. I don't think they fully grasp, like what I'm doing. And so I start getting like really upset and in my head about it and then worked up. And I had to remember, like, I'm not doing this for these people. And I don't know if you saw my post on Instagram or not, but I actually made a post about this the other day, and it was me kind of talking to myself in reference to that moment because I was just so upset and in my own head that it was affecting my workout. And I had to remind myself, like, like you didn't do this to impress your family. Like you did this despite the fact that they don't get it, they don't understand, like they don't really care. It's just a whatever thing to them. Like you did it despite that. And I was like, you did this because you weren't born, like you're born into this family, but you're not made of the same material that they are. Like you're different.
Mm,
You've known since you were little that like you're born in a small town. You watch people go to 9 to 5s. You watch people, just waste their life being not fulfilled, and you know that you didn't want that for yourself. So it was like in this post, I'm talking to myself. It's like you didn't do this for your family. Like you did this because you knew you were different and you wanted more, and you knew that you were not going to be the only child from that town that is going to feel that way. And so it was
Mm.
like you did this because you wanted to chase everything you ever wanted. So that way, like that child has somebody that was born in that same town where you have a lot of like people that it's just like a dead in life. And they see somebody that like got up, like blazed a trail and like showed like you can do something else. Like you can get out of here. It's not easy. It's going to be hard. And honestly, people aren't going to understand. But like if you're different and you want something different, it's okay. Just realize like you're going to have to walk away from where you've grown up, where you're comfortable, and you're just going to have to go be different and just go chase things. So
Yeah, that's real.
that
And
was
go
that
ahead.
was my why. I was just say that was that's just that's my why.
Well,
So
and there's so much strength in that because so many times as human beings, we start doing something to impress others. And then a lot of times it becomes, but once you get to the deepest depths of that, they don't give a F
hmm
about what's going on with me and how this is going. It becomes, you go so deep down the rabbit hole that it puts you in that mode where if it's to have, I'm going to get it at
hmm
it by any means necessary because there's somebody out there that needs to hear this message. There's somebody, and that's interesting because our paths are like, I'm like, we need to do a podcast and talk about this and document this process. And even the podcast and everything that goes down is one of those things where I'm like, this, I need to do this because there's somebody out there that is mentally challenging the limits of who they are and saying, nah, because they going to mom, they going to dad.
hmm
And one guy that inspires me a lot is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he
Yep.
talks about f your mom, f your dad, but if you're gonna say that, don't get the assistance from them. You know what I'm saying? And that's a lot of times that's taking your power back. It's one of those things where you can't give anybody your power. At the end of the day, you are a woman. You know what I'm saying? Or
hmm
whatever other people identify by, whatever your entity, your being is, that is you, and it's you alone, and you are responsible for that person because it ties into relationships. A lot of people, they get stuck into this gym goals, and the only reason they join the gym is because they're in a relationship and they're not getting the results they want, or or the fact that they're trying to get the chicks, they're trying to get the ladies, or they're trying to attract guys or whatever it is. But it's deeper than that, and I think it's beautiful. Whatever is going to get you to the gym. If I tell you that it's fairies outside serving ice cream, and they get you in the gym, and you walk out, you don't see no fairies, but you keep going to the gym, like that's where I need you to be. You know what I'm saying? And I was talking to one of my lady friends, and she was talking about, oh yeah, they look at this. Mike is crazy, Kobe is crazy, and I'm like, nah, they relentless. They was both trained by Tim Grover. And Tim Grover didn't train that mentality in him. He was a part of the process and supporting that process, analyzing the things that they did to make it better. And in the Last Dance, Mike talked about, hey, I took that personal and
Yep.
everything. And like it's weird. And I don't mean anything vicious by it, but like everything in my life, I found out a way to take it personal. Because you hear the bickering. You see the people look at you some type of way because they don't understand you. They don't understand the animal and the person that you are. They just see, it's weird. People, like, I'm not a broadcaster of the things that I do with the military and stuff like that, really, to people on my route. But once they find it out, they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like this person is driven. This person has drive. Okay, and somebody said it was like, oh yes, your genetics. That's why. And I'm like, dog, genetics can only take you so far.
Yep.
And yes, they do play a portion. However, you got to put in the work. Like, I was never talented at anything. Like, people see me now and they think, oh yeah, he was probably Mr. Popular and doing all this. Like, I had a conversation with a driver the other day and he was like, oh yeah, I came from the background. I got picked on. I was a nerd. I was the kid with the fat nose, with the skinny legs, who got picked on. Like one time they made me eat dirt at the bus stop. This was like when I was really, really little and I just didn't know how to take up for myself. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, you know what? But it also helped me gravitate to other people who were outcasts,
hmm
who felt different. And now I can have so many different conversations. People are like, wow, how do you come? My sister the other day, she was like, how do you come up with this stuff on the podcast? She's like, how did you even think about that? And I'm like, I've just been around so many different people, had so many different experiences that it changed my life and it helped me level up. And so That's super huge. That why, and wherever you get that why, just make it. It doesn't have to start off healthy, but start gearing towards a healthy portion with that, because you don't want that why. If you made it a person, if you made it a goal, you don't want that to crush everything that you have. Because I don't know if you started Tim Grover's newest book, Winning,
Not yet.
but in that book he talks about winning doesn't give a.
Yep.
He was like, it doesn't care. It doesn't owe you anything. Winning, you win that night, you win the championship, you get the rank, you get the position, you get all that, and now it's time to go to work all over again and win again.
Yep.
And like a lot of people don't understand the depths of that. And that brings us to, our question of the day, Reddit Q&A. They say, I have no time to exercise. What should I do? What do you say, Coach?
So the first thing that I'm going to say, especially if they're my client, is let's write down your time for the day. Like, let's actually look and like
No,
evaluate
because
your
no,
time.
I ain't got time to write down my time.
Like, oh yes, you do. No, what I say to that is, do you really not have time, or do you not want to make time?
Oh, that's so true.
There's so many people that will come up with the excuse that like they don't have time to do this or they don't have time to do that. Honestly, like, and I mean, I've actually tried really hard the last couple weeks. I had to start setting a do not disturb time. So like between the hours of 10 to 6, which is why I didn't get your messenger message today
Oh, you
until
good?
like 6:30. But I started setting it to where like apps that I needed, so like banking or whatever, like I can still text, so like when I need to reach out, or like mail, like those things I can still access. But anything social media driven, anything that I know like distracts me, it shuts that down. And like if I try to go onto it during that time period, it shows up with an hourglass, and like I have to choose to ignore like the time limit, and it makes me extra conscious because what I realized was I was spending almost like 4 hours just a day on Instagram. And if you start really dissecting into people's schedules, like we're all doing it. We're also hooked on social media and other things right now, that it's not that we don't have time, like we're just not being efficient with our time. And so it's really just like, let's go back through, like evaluate your schedule. Let's start with something small, like 30 minutes. Like, what is 30 minutes that you think maybe you're not being the most efficient? We can throw that out and like we'll replace that with something else. So that's what I would say to those people.
Well, and that's awesome. That's great advice, for sure. Because it's one of those things where I'm gonna be honest. Once I started like putting I turned all the dating app notifications off. Like I turned like all the messaging, stuff off except for my work. I got the Apple Watch; it'll pop up. But a lot of like the alerts, I don't even get them. Like and I use Creator Studio to schedule posts and stuff like that. Like a lot of people, it's weird. Some people that I've dated are like, "Oh, well, you're always on social media posting something." I'm like, but I'm really not. Like,
Yeah.
I have a content poster, so I spend hours and hours typing up these blurbs on these memes and putting the memes together so they can flow. Because I'm also in the military too, and it'd be disrespectful to troops for me to use their time that I should be devoting to them. You know what I'm saying? It's my time trying to edit and do whatever. So it's funny. I'll be, doing a field exercise and there's a video of millennials art launching, right? And so it's amazing, and when speaking on this, use your technology to your advantage. We have technology that our great grandparents wish they would have had. Like I can literally sit in the bed and do podcasts. I can literally sit in the bed and work on memes and work on cutting and editing and all that stuff and just sit there and lay down and do it before I go to bed. But you got to make the time if you want your goals to happen, because the worst thing that you can ever do is live in resentment. That's probably, man, that resentment to eat at you every time. You be like, and especially when you get to a competition or something, or something important, you're like, man, if I would have did a few more reps, if I would have did a few more of this. But when you start becoming proactive and pragmatic about your goals, like you're gonna get more. What were you about to say, Coach?
Yeah, so I read it, so I saw it in The Last Dance, and then I read it again in David Goggins' book because he referenced The Last Dance and how, Michael's mentality was, and he mentioned trying this, And I mean, I'm still like, this is something that I like really, really need to work on. Um, but I'm like trying to work on. But he was talking about how Michael was always at ease because he was always in the moment. Like he wasn't getting stuck multitasking, doing multiple things. Like he was in the moment. So it's like when you're lifting, like lift. When I'm studying, like study. Like we've gotten as a society so used to just multitasking that we're not actually living. We're just kind of half-assing a bunch of different things at the same time.
And we think we're
So
good at it, and we're garbage at it.
yeah,
You're
we're
not
really
good at
not.
multitasking. Task,
No.
task, task. And I've noticed even with the military, if I write that stuff down, I'll put a check mark bubble to it, I'll get to it a lot more efficient. Accomplish this before this, before this, before this. And even with this process, with the different podcast series that I have running, like with the book reviews and all that stuff, I'm like, no, this is their time. You work on, Robbie's graphics. You work on so-and-so's graphics. So that way, next week when it comes up and you might be running a little bit late from work, it doesn't affect the flow of everything else you got going on. But that's huge. Be in the moment. It'll improve your dating life. It'll improve your health. It'll improve your financial life, right? Because you'll get better results at work because they notice when everybody else is on their phone or when everybody else is doing whatever, you're getting after it and you're task oriented and you can task out those things and do what you need to do. So even when it's not exercise, be in the moment. Be in the moment. Make a schedule. There was a lieutenant colonel that said the shortest pencil is better than the longest memory. And that stuck with me. Write your goals down, be ambitious about it. So this ends it for episode 7. Why your wise is everything. We appreciate y'all. Tap into the next one. I'm Tommy.
I'm probably.
And this is Gamer Conquering. All right.